All right, so thank you all for coming. If you don't know me, I'm Jim Gazzale, my wife Karen. We signed up here back in mid-December. Prior to joining the gym here, we both ran a online nutrition and personal training business out of Troy. We helped people all over the world, really, US, Canada, some countries in Europe as well. The name of that business was Sense Fitness. We both had our nutrition coaching certification through Precision Nutrition, and then I also have a sports nutrition certification through ISSA. So what does that mean for you? I think that I just read enough sciencey based stuff to kind of simplify nutrition, make it fun, make it interesting, and hopefully simple to follow along regardless of what your goals are. So that is me. I think we can start with how much we should eat. I think that is the most critical question that we need to answer when we're starting a nutrition program, a nutrition plan, really regardless of what your goals are, because I think our goals will kind of evolve over time. We might be at one point in time trying to lose weight, or at another point in time trying to gain weight, build muscle, eat in a certain way that makes us perform better in the gym. There's a variety of different goals, and how much we eat will obviously depend on what we're trying to accomplish. I think we'll hear a lot about calories in versus calories out, and that's I guess you could say an overly simplistic way of looking at a sort of weight loss or muscle building journey, if you will. Now, that, like I said, is pretty simplistic, but it holds true. If we're eating more than we're burning throughout the day, we're going to gain weight. If we're eating less than we're burning throughout the day, we're going to lose weight. There's really no way around it. Getting into a little bit of the nitty gritty of that, there are a variety of factors that will play into how much you're burning throughout the day. So just in a basic sense, you come to the gym here, probably burning 300 to 400 calories per workout, roughly. But with a strength training program like we have here, yes, 300-400 calories per workout might not seem like a lot, but what you're doing is increasing your muscle size, your muscle mass, which is just naturally going to increase our metabolism and allow us to burn more throughout the day, and not just that day, but all the days beyond that. So you'll see, just using like bodybuilders as an example, they're eating 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 calories a day because they have so much muscle. That muscle requires a lot of energy, calories to support and continue to grow. So that's why they're able to eat that much, stay lean, stay muscular without gaining weight. I think for all of us, if we tried to eat 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 calories a day, we'd probably feel pretty sick. And if we were able to accomplish it, we would gain a significant amount of weight, probably in a short period of time. So determining our needs, how much we should eat is important. And like I said, it's going to vary based on the goals that you have laid out for yourself. So there's a variety of different ways that you can determine these needs. There's a bunch of mathematical formulas and calculations that you'll find on the internet that plug it into a website, height, weight, age, goal weight, whatever you're trying to do, and it'll spit out a number, and that's fine. That's a fine starting point. I wouldn't, take it as gospel, but if you're just starting out, whatever your goal is, and you wanted to use one of those calculators, totally fine to do that. I think they get you in the ballpark. Macros is another thing that people talk a lot about. How many grams of protein, fats, carbohydrates do I need per day? And again, that's going to vary on the person based on your metabolism, your activity levels, not only at the gym, but what you're doing throughout the day. If you have a desk job where you're sitting for 8-9 hours a day, your caloric needs are going to be a little bit different than somebody who is working on a construction site, for example. So macros is good. Again, there's a lot that kind of plays into how to figure that out, how to make adjustments as you go. And I always recommended, the client base that Taryn and I worked with mostly were females 40 and over that had been struggling to lose weight, pretty much their entire lives, and just the knowledge around what was healthy eating and living an active, healthy lifestyle was just not part of their life. So in that regard, macros for them was challenging, too challenging to kind of be understood and executed properly initially. So if you're somebody that has a good bit of knowledge over food in general, food quality, food portions, which we'll go over here shortly, macros might be a fine starting point. Generally, in my experience though, macros is something that you kind of build towards. Usually, I would recommend somebody start with hand portions, and if you looked in the Facebook group, I shared an image a few weeks ago, just kind of outlining that. So as you kind of get started with whatever you're trying to accomplish, I would recommend starting with the hand portion. So you're just using your palm as your protein. You're using a fist for your carbohydrates and your vegetables and your fruit, and a thumb, which is a little goofy, but it kind of works for your fat. So that would be, and again, we'll talk about this in a few minutes, nuts, seeds, even your cooking oil, your butters, and stuff like that. So how much should we eat? Simple answer is it depends on what you're trying to accomplish, your knowledge around food, and really how much time and effort you want to put into it. So once you figure all of that out, well, I guess I should pause there and see if anybody has any questions before we move on to the next topic. Good? Okay. So once we figure out how much we need to be eating or want to be eating, that's the next sort of step. How do I get to that? I've got my hand portions for the day. How can I be successful doing that? Now, you can have that ballpark sort of macro calorie goal to kind of help you outline a daily game plan, a weekly game plan to try and get you there. I guess figuring out how much you should be eating doesn't really do you any good if you don't have a game plan to achieve that, right? It's all well and good to say, okay, well, I should be eating, 1,850 calories a day. Well, what does that look like? It doesn't matter so much if you're eating 3,000 calories a day or if you're eating 1,000 calories a day and you're nowhere near where you're supposed to be. So one of the single most important things that that I feel like people avoid or don't look at or should look, they need to be looking at, is nutrition labels. Most of the food that you see in the grocery store nowadays is heavily processed. The idea is to get you to eat it and keep eating it, and there's really limited nutritional value to it. And I'll show you a few examples here. But reading, recognizing, understanding nutrition labels is key. And the two most important things to look at on there are the portion size and how much protein is in what you're eating. And I'll explain as we go through the importance of protein in an overall healthy diet as we go. But portion size and protein. A lot of times we're eating food like, this sugary cereal that I have here, and the portion size is a little over a cup. But when we pour it, we're pouring 2 cups, 3 cups even, because we're just eyeballing it. Same thing, and there's no protein in that whatsoever. The milk too, normal serving size of milk is a cup, 8 ounces, 130, 150 calories depending. Are we actually taking the time to measure a cup of milk? No. So if we just look at this right here, I've done this plenty of times at home. If you have a mason jar and you fill the mason jar up with your cereal and then fill the mason jar up with your milk, that is a proper portion. That is, 300 calories for your cereal. But we don't do that, right? We just, right? Like who's eating this much cereal? It's a handful, right? And this is, 150 calories, right?
Don't you put as much in just so you can put enough milk and it doesn't spill
Exactly,
over?
right. And I'll show you that next, right? Here's your cup of milk. This is a proper portion of cereal. When you pour cereal, we're eating 2 times this amount, 3 times this amount, right? So, you fill it all the way up, another 150 calories there, another, 150 calories from the milk, just eyeballing it. A normal bowl of cereal, 300 calories, 800 calories in here, right? Zero nutritional value in this. Now, that's not to say that you should never eat this, right? This food's fun, it tastes good. So we can work that in, but we have to be smart about it. Because you do that when you're in a rush in the morning, you run out to work, and by the time you get to work, you're hungry again, and you're like, oh, I just ate 20 minutes ago. And that's because there's no protein in that. It's not doing anything to keep you satiated and full. So you're gonna be having another snack, another cup of coffee, an hour or 2 later. And that's where things tend to kind of go off the rails when it comes to nutrition. Just understanding and recognizing portion sizes and protein. And while people like to, rag on the food manufacturers and, creating all of this processed stuff, there is critical information that they do provide you that needs to be paid attention to. So you see I have the measuring cup there. Again, a little tedious, but if you start to use those, invest the extra minute or 2 it takes to measure out your food, measure out your portions, weigh your food. Over time, you're going to have a better understanding of how much you're eating, and when you're eating, and all of those things, because it forces you to slow down and pay attention. And you get to learn and develop skills around how much you're eating, the quality of what you're eating. So if you take the time to do that for 2-3 months, beyond that, you should have a pretty good base level of knowledge and understanding about portion sizes where you don't need to do it anymore. So typically, nutrition labels, the food scale, you could also log the stuff in the app too. That requires, again, an understanding of how much you're eating so you can effectively put it into the app and whatnot. Again, this stuff can be tedious, a bit overwhelming for people who have never done it before, don't want to do it, legitimately don't have the time to do it in the morning or at night. So that's why I always keep coming back to the hand portions. You take your hand with you everywhere. You can just glance at it, glance at your plate, whatever you're preparing, and get a general idea of what it is that you're eating and how much that you're eating. Any questions? Good? All right. So I think the overall theme so far is paying attention and understanding what you're doing. And that is, in my opinion, the single most important ingredient to anything that you're wanting to do with nutrition, whether it's lose weight, perform better in the gym, build muscle, whatever it is. You have to pay attention. You have to be invested in the process. And I know that sounds, whatever. Eating healthy has got to be my life. And I think in a sense that's true, because if we don't do it and we don't take a proactive approach to what we're eating, how much we're eating, things can go sideways fairly quickly. And you wake up a year from now, 2 years from now, and wondering, where the hell did it all go wrong? And you recognize that you weren't even so much as glancing at nutrition labels. You weren't understanding the quality of the food that you're eating. You weren't looking at the portion sizes. And then we end up kind of wondering why we look a certain way, we feel a certain way, or the workouts here aren't going as well as we would want. So taking a proactive approach to your nutrition is key. And that doesn't mean you need to be the bodybuilder walking around with a duffel bag of pre-portioned meals for breakfast, lunch, dinner 7 days a week. You don't need to be the person taking a vacation and putting your whey protein in Ziploc bags and making it look like cocaine in your luggage. You don't need to be doing all of that. But what you do need to be doing is developing and building an understanding of the quality around your food, and the amount of food that you're eating. So what should I eat? This goes back to the food quality discussion. And again, there's nothing wrong with the Peeps cereal. There's nothing wrong with whole milk. There's nothing wrong with the chips that are on the floor. There's nothing wrong with eating cake, cookies, cupcakes, whatever, right? Food is such a sort of diverse piece of our lives. We use food for a million different things. We use it to, celebrate things. We use it to fuel our bodies, obviously. We use it to, make ourselves feel better in certain situations. So there's a whole variety of different ways to use food and how food kind of influences our our lives, the people we spend time with, the traditions we have. Food is a part of everything, really. So to say, oh, you can't eat this cereal is just, ridiculous. Growing up in an Italian family, Sunday was, pasta day. And if you look at pasta, it's the same as the cereal. The normal portion is like 4 pieces of spaghetti, basically, for like 200 calories. Nobody I know is eating 4 pieces of spaghetti. We're, eating 400 pieces of spaghetti. But I'm not going to skip family dinner on Sunday because I'm, trying to lose weight or trying to have better workouts in the gym. And, the pasta doesn't fit my nutrition plan, so, sorry, Mom and Dad, I'm not coming to dinner tonight. We're not going to do that. So what should I eat? I think we need to view it sort of on a continuum, right? There are, and if you look back in the Facebook group, there's graphics of this. It's like, green foods, yellow foods, red foods. Green foods, we want to eat more of those. As much as we can eat of those foods that are on the green side of those sheets. So, for example, with your protein, any like vegans or vegetarians?
I just don't like meat very much.
Okay. Fish?
No.
Okay. So I was gonna say beef, chicken, turkey, all of those things. High quality cuts of meat. Outside of that, there are, tofu is fine. Beans are good if you're not wanting to eat meat. So things like that are going to help you reach your protein goal for the day. So, and then, under that protein banner, as we kind of move along that continuum, I would put like a beef jerky sort of in the middle there. Limited, the red foods, let's call it, would be like, hot dogs or pepperoni sticks or, heavily processed things that we'll recognize if we're paying attention and looking at the nutrition labels and kind of understanding what it is that we're eating. Carbohydrates, again, fruits would fall under your carbohydrate. Now, if you're looking at portion sizes for fruits and vegetables, I'm of the opinion that you're never going to be able to eat enough fruits and vegetables. That stuff is dense, so it fills up your stomach. So if you're looking to lose weight, let's just use that as an example. Fill up on fruits, vegetables, and protein, and it sounds so simple, but that really is the key. Eat as much fruit as you want, and you'll be way too full to even think about ending the day with a bowl of cereal or a bag of chips. Other things along that continuum with the carbohydrates. When you prepare, let's say, potatoes, a baked potato with a little bit of butter would be, I would put that under the green foods. When you start to put, cream cheese and bacon and extra cheese and all this other stuff on top of it, then, obviously it starts to slide further and further down that continuum. The sort of red foods on that carbohydrate scale would be the chips, the Peeps cereal here. Things that feel good kind of in the moment. Just, full of sugar, things like apple juice, orange juice really even. That's just kind of empty calories, if you will. Nothing wrong with them, but we just need to pay attention to how much of them we're consuming. Fats, it gets, go ahead.
Does everybody know what empty calories, what he means by empty calories?
Yeah, so it's like there's no real nutritional value to it. Like, for example, if you had, a steak or a chicken breast or a bowl of chickpeas, beans, rice, there's obviously protein in the meat that is helping to keep you full, help you build your muscles, help you recover from the workouts here. But when you have something like this, it's not doing anything for you. It's not sort of advancing what your goal is.
Technically
So,
speaking, your body is breaking down, right, the protein and the fiber and all that and using it for energy. Whereas the empty calories, the sugar and all of that, your body's more likely to hold on to that stuff.
Just a glycol gets converted and you're just throwing it in your bloodstream. Yeah.
So that's why it's empty.
yeah.
Thank you.
So the fats is where it gets a little interesting, I think, because fats have more calories per gram than protein and carbohydrates. So protein and carbs, 4 calories per gram. So if you had 100 grams of a steak, 400 calories, because that's, for the most part, all protein. Fats has 9 calories per gram, which is why things like, milk, cheese, nuts have a higher calorie count for, a smaller portion. So, and also too, where people tend to get in trouble with chips, candy bars, chocolates, right? We think that those are main, carbohydrate sources, and they are, but they're also mixed with a ton of fat, which makes it super palatable. We want to eat more of them, and it also, drives the calorie count up. So nuts, super healthy for you. Peanuts, walnuts, almonds, you name it. All nuts are good quality foods. But when we're sitting there with a bag of almonds next to our desk while we're working and we're just throwing them in our mouth, at the end of the day,
The bag's empty.
the bag is empty.
Don't you? I don't get it.
And you just took in, 600, 700, 800 calories of nuts. And there's good vitamins and minerals and nutrients in that are helping you. But from a calorie standpoint, you don't realize how much you're actually eating. So that's why paying attention to your portion sizes, kind of portioning that stuff out. Usually a portion of nuts is a quarter of a cup, which is about, a handful, like 14 to 20 almonds or so. So you have to pay attention to that. Cheese. Anytime people are, working cheese into something, it's just, how much cheese can you put on this meal that you're making? Pretty calorically dense, and tends to be a lot more calories than we want to be eating or need to be eating. So, kind of circling back to protein and why it is the key. And then I'll kind of go back through each of these again real quick. Protein helps us build our muscle, helps us get stronger, which helps us increase our metabolism, which helps us then be able to eat more food throughout the day without having to worry about, gaining weight or not being able to perform well here. So what it also does is it keeps us full. So if you have, let's say, 30 or 40 grams of protein for breakfast, I would guarantee that you're not going to need to eat again until lunch. But when you have something like that, which does not have much protein at all, you're hungry again in an hour. Because, like Karen was saying, this stuff there's nothing to it, so your body just processes it really quick, sends all that sugar to your blood, doesn't stick in your stomach very long. But if you have a chicken breast, or you have a cup of chickpeas or beans with rice, your stomach is going to take a lot longer to break all of that down. So while that's working, you're burning calories because your metabolism is moving, and you're going to still feel satiated because your body is working to break all of that stuff down. So protein, especially beef, chicken, fish, just takes a while for our body to break that stuff down, which allows us to, cover a couple of hours before we feel like we need to eat again. Carbohydrates, a lot of times we hear people, I'm carb free, I'm not eating carbs, and that's all well and good, but there are sort of important aspects to an overall healthy sort of nutrition plan that incorporate carbs. And the main reason is, we're going to eat this stuff, right? It's like impossible to think that you're just going to avoid carbohydrates for the rest of your life. So why not try and figure out how to work those things in to an overall, healthy eating plan. Carbohydrates too are not, quote unquote essential. It's not an essential macronutrient. So you could survive without eating carbohydrates. Where, if you didn't eat any protein and you didn't eat any fat, you'd be in trouble pretty quick. So I think that's too where carbs kind of get a bad rap. People say, oh, well, we don't need them, so let's not eat them. And then also kind of piggybacking on my earlier point about the carbs mixing with the fat, with the chips and the Snickers bars and chocolate and whatever else. The carbs mixed with the fat boost the calories, boosts the palatability of these foods, and gets us wanting to eat more and more and more and more and more. So, any questions about that?
About eggs and high cholesterol.
Yeah, good question. So, I would always throw the eggs under the protein banner. I think there have been a number of studies that have shown that eggs do not increase your cholesterol. So I would always encourage our clients to eat eggs, even with the yolk, because there is that good fat content in there. And I think if you can handle eggs, some people's stomachs are fairly sensitive to eggs, but yeah, studies have proven that there's no causation to eating a bunch of eggs and seeing your cholesterol rise. What I found just in general on a lot of that stuff, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, a lot of that has to do with just carrying around excess weight. We've seen plenty of studies where people are overweight and then they lose weight just by eating, McDonald's right? There was some professor years ago that, you know, put himself on a Twinkie and Mountain Dew diet. That's all he ate for like 30 days, and he lost a ton of weight, and all of his, you know, vitals and blood work and everything came back healthier than before by essentially just eating sugar. But he wasn't carrying around excess fat on his body, so all of his, you know, health metrics improved. So, speaking just in general weight loss terms here, that is the main key. Taking in less calories than you burn so you can lose fat, that will just naturally increase your overall body and your overall health when you're not carrying around excess fat. Then from there, the next step would be focusing on food quality and whatever else. A lot of times, you know, we look around and we're like, I need to go to the gym, I need to measure my food out, I need to, you know, cook all my meals at home. You have this list of 10 or 20 things that you need to do when you're starting a weight loss journey, for example, and you look at that list and you're like, there's no way I can do all of this stuff at once, and then you don't even do any of it because it just gets to be too overwhelming. So start small and just kind of build into
I've always said,
the
instead
plan.
of taking away, it's very hard if you're somebody who's never done anything with weight loss, food, nutrition, has no knowledge. Instead of looking at that list that Jim just mentioned, the 20 things I have to take away from my life and my diet, add one thing. Add the walk, add vegetables, add something, because in time, it will naturally negate all of the things that you were doing that might have been detrimental, let's say.
You replace it with something else. You
Just
won't be
add
as hungry.
instead of subtract, because it really is overwhelming to think, I have to drink more water, I have to go to the gym 5 days a week, I have to, you know, add more protein, I have to look at my carbs. And if you're thinking about all these things that you've never had to do before, how long will that last?
I mean, just from experience, like, it really was hard in the beginning, like, because the weighing of the food and the time and this and that, but I would say for the most part, we all eat the same thing all the time. So we don't have to go back and keep logging that, it's already there, you're logging your food and stuff like that. After a while, I would say it's probably a little over a year that I stopped logging because I know what I can eat and what I can't eat. Even if I can't eat it, I'll eat it, but know that I can't really eat like that every day. So eventually it gets easier to start doing.
Are you talking about a specific app or just an app in general?
Well, there's apps, but he's also saying you don't really need the app, you really just need to figure out like a general idea of what you can and can't eat. You can use your hand and know that you can't just free pour or just have the bag. A lot of times if I do eat chips, I won't eat it out of the bag, I'll put it in a bowl.
In a bowl. I think that was the biggest difference for me when I started doing modifications. Like you said, you look at what you really need to do to be doing the right thing and you're overwhelmed. Because there's not anything familiar on there. But the whole portion control thing, when you look at the box, even if you're talking about a red food, you're going, what's a serving of a hot dog? 1, not 3. You know what I mean?
Right.
If you just look at the portion size or whatever, and then have even a scoop, like if you're doing a casserole or something that might even be less than the perfect meal, if you're only having a cup, which is a normal, portion or something versus like that, which is really good.
So here's a good example. Typically in a bag of potato chips, there's about 3 or 4 whole potatoes in a bag of Lay's, let's say. Try sitting down and eating 3 or 4 baked potatoes out of the oven. You'd get through 1 before you feel full, and you wouldn't be able to take another bite. You'll eat this in 30 seconds, and then you'll go back to the bag and eat more, and eat more, and eat more. That's the combination of carbohydrates and fats, making this, and the salt and making this taste super good. The texture in your mouth feels good. So we just keep eating more and more and more. And to Brandy's point, taking it out of the bag, putting it in a bowl so we can see how much an actual portion is of chips, right? And you can go back to the sheet in the Facebook group, handful. Here's your serving of chips for your one portion of carbohydrates that you want to have. So just to wrap up, we're going to have different goals at different points, right? So let's just say you start out wanting to lose weight. Let's just use that as an example. You're, just using whole numbers here. You're 200 pounds and you want to lose 25 pounds to be 175 pounds for whatever reason, wherever that's important to you. What happens when you get there, right? We all know somebody that lost a bunch of weight and then gained it all back because they didn't have a plan of what that next step is once they reach that goal, right? The problem with a lot of diets, let's say, is that they're temporary. Oh, I have a wedding coming up, or there's this event that I want to be able to wear this outfit to, or whatever. So you work really hard in the short term, you follow a plan, you blindly follow a plan, and okay, I'm gonna eat this, and this for 6 weeks, and then everything's gonna be great because I'm gonna go to this event, and it's gonna be fun, and I'll be able to wear this outfit, and yada, yada, yada. Well, what happens the next day after that event, or even at the event? You've deprived yourself of cookies, candy, alcohol, whatever it is. You go totally off the rails, and then I'll get back on it on Monday. Monday turns into the next Monday, to the next Monday, because you're tired, because you just spent 6 weeks blindly following a plan and not really paying attention and not having a game plan after that. So again, just going back to the overall theme of any successful nutrition plan, regardless of your goal, you have to pay attention. You have to have a game plan of what you're trying to achieve. You can have a massive goal of wanting to lose 100 pounds, or qualify for the CrossFit Games, or win a bodybuilding show, or whatever. But you have to have a roadmap to get there, which is going to include a bunch of different stops and checkpoints and milestones along the way. And you need to have that game plan, and you need to pay attention while you're on that path to get there. So,
we would also talk about finding the why. So it seems kind of like corny, but just to lose weight, to look good is a great reason. But if you're thinking, okay, well, why do I want to look good? Well, I want to look good so when my daughter looks at me, she knows that she's seeing a confident woman, and she's going to grow up to be confident. And she's seeing me work. Okay, so that's a level deeper. Okay, well, why do I want her to be that way? Because I want her to grow up and not be complex the way I was, right? Okay, well, why do I? Because I want to live longer. I want to see them, get up, grow, get married, and have kids, right? Going deeper and finding your deeper why. Do I want to lose weight and get healthy, or why am I doing this? Will last you longer along those checkpoints and goals, rather than just, I want to look good for the summer, right? Well, why? Because I know if I drop this weight, I'm going to live longer, right? Just another point.
Yep. So yeah, just in closing, I think the main theme is you have to have a plan, and you have to pay attention along that plan. Eat whatever you want, just be smart about what you're eating. And, you know, this sounds like, you know, Jim sort of hardo, but you're the one putting that food in your mouth. You're the one that needs to sort of recognize what foods are serving you best and what foods are keeping you from achieving whatever it is that you want to achieve in the gym, in life, or, you know, any other aspect really.
And one more thing, there's nothing wrong with frozen foods, there's nothing wrong with canned foods, there's nothing wrong with prepared rotisserie chicken. Like, there are people who don't like to cook, there are people who don't have time to cook, who don't have the means maybe to buy fresh, healthy food. There's nothing wrong with any of that stuff.
You know, I think like, you know, Stewart's across the street. You walk in there and there's nothing healthy in here. But if you walk around, you can find sort of temporary things to kind of, you know, get you from one meal to the next. There's hard-boiled eggs in there. There, you know, cheese sticks are fine. There's bags of nuts. And the good thing about, you know, convenience stores, gas stations, you know, in addition to the normal big size bags and everything they have those single size things too. So, you know, we buy small single serve bags for the kids for lunches and snacks and whatever, but they help us too. You know, if you're somebody that you know you're going to sit down and you're going to, you know, eat half a bag of chips, might cost you a couple extra dollars. If you buy, you know, a 38 pack of the individual size, but if you can challenge yourself to just eat a single bag of that stuff, you're going to, you know, learn more. You're going to understand portion sizes and all of that, and it's going to help keep you on track a little bit better than having the, you know, normal big size of everything sitting around. So, any questions? Hopefully that was easy to understand. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.